I kept posting on Instagram for about a year, constantly sharing value, showcasing my authority, building connections, engaging like crazy. I still wasn't able to sell my coaching program with confidence, and my fear of rejection, which I thought I was afraid of selling, devoured me to the extent that I was in £4,000 credit card debt. If you're a purpose-driven entrepreneur who wants to help others, perhaps you've mastered skills, you have a unique blend of gifts and passions, you have gone through your own personal development journey, and you want to make sure that you want to simply monetize your truth, share your truth in the world, because you see all the bullshit your people are being fed. You may feel like you get the likes, the engagement, the connections, but not the sales and the conversions into your sacred offers, whether it's one-to-one or group coaching. This is the shift that allowed me to actually sell my offers with confidence, let my content speak for me, being sleazy or sounding like an asshole, because eventually I finally overcame my biggest fear of all, which was my fear of rejection. One of the most powerful sentences you will ever hear is, "You are where your attention is." If you're constantly thinking about the people who keep unsubscribing, the people who, when that landing page or sales page is live, when you share that CTA that invites people to reach out to you, people won't respond. Anytime you say something, it's crickets. What do you focus on? And this is totally normal, especially at the beginning of our entrepreneurial journey, when we are still in that stage of getting really triggered when our words don't get appreciated. As in, we get the likes, we get people who say, "This was so inspiring, I love what you shared," but not in the monetary way as we expected. And this is one of the reasons, in any shape or form, I help my students in my paid programs. We always focus on mastering our attention, mastering ourselves, our identity, and how we show up. I've always been proud of having a good heart and also my achievements. A person who has always been self-integral. I created everything in my life I wanted, whether it was getting out of the shit I was back in my home country and just pulling the trigger, moving to London at the age of 22 with $500 to my name, or flying across the world and moving to Japan at the age of 28. I made it all happen. So how come I wasn't able to monetize my business when I knew myself as someone who truly cared about my audience and knew that whenever people pay, I know I could give back 10 times the value. I realized that, first of all, I failed to sell my coaching offers because I thought of serving in my content, sharing value, and selling as two separate things, which there's gonna be a whole other video dedicated to. I still kept constantly wondering why my following went down. I kept wondering why my content doesn't resonate. I kept getting angry about people, why they are not getting it. I also kept cringing every time I had to click on unfollow, like removing people from my following, when an Instagram coach told me to remove inactive followers to actually get my content in front of my existing active followers. I basically made my following, my numbers, who didn't buy, who got triggered, who left hate comments, the focus of my business, prioritizing who wouldn't buy, who wouldn't like what I say, who wouldn't resonate, instead of focusing on what I want every single heart-led coach focus on. Your people are out there. Ones that aren't following you because of your bubbly pink or light blue fonts, or because you have a website that's, that you spend $10,000 on, because you showcase something that they also stand for. You're brave enough to talk about your values, your stories, and they want to join you on your mission with your soul-led business. Might already be in big shit, constantly thinking about the solutions to their problems. They are already know what's going on. They are smart enough to look up all the options they have. They might even be looking at options they could invest in. Your content is only helpful being insights, sharing tips, or even sharing your personal story that does not connect with them and say, "Oh my God, I can see myself in this story. It lifts off shame. I don't feel alone. This is totally possible for me. Eventually, your content doesn't give them a hand and say, I get you, I understand you, here's what you may have been missing. I've got something that I'm confident will help you with the transformation you seek. You're doing a massive disservice to the people who already want what you have. So the first question I had to ask myself was, will I risk unfollows, angry emails, being called a money-grabbing asshole by, 30% of my audience when I'm sending a sales email that they subscribe to, or talking about my offer, my clients in my content, and not serve the 3% who have a healthy relationship with money and are already looking for a solution. Because let's face it, if we focus so much on when we sell what other people think about us and not trying to speak to that person, build a case for why our offer is so valuable for them to invest in, not trying to sell, just simply communicate the value, we are making the sale about ourselves. That's ego-led, not heart-led. The way I talk about this to all my members, and if you've ever wondered what do you need to say so that people see the value in your coaching, and you're wondering how to articulate your message, your unique passion and wisdom so that people actually see the value, they see that that's the actual answer to the problems they are seeking an answer to, I've put together a free 7-video course all around some of the things that are based on psychology, based on the neuroscience of communication, how people make decisions, that will help you get clear on what your buyer, a potential person who's already in pain enough to invest in your coaching, in your offers, needs to hear so they see the immense value that you're offering. For instant access, check out the first link in the description below. As a former control freak, I really had to slow down and understand myself, really get to the root of what I was so afraid of. Because I knew that my free content was out there sharing value that was life-changing. So it kept my audience entertained. It kept coming back for more. That's why I'm always happy to share whatever strategies have worked for me and even be vulnerable enough to talk about things like in this video to help other people, you on the other side of the camera, feel that you're not alone. The truth is, sometimes I share the exact same strategies in a free video, in a free thread or content piece, a blog post on my Substack that I do to my paid members inside our membership Impact. Yet, it's still my paid members who close up to $3,000 clients in the DMs without coercing, forcing, or sounding salesy because their content is doing the work with the exact same strategies I share with them as with my free audience. I want you to start looking at selling as invitation. Just remove the word selling from your vocabulary and look at it as invitation for someone to stop making choices out of fear, living in the past, and start making a choice out of trust in the realm of possibilities for their future. Now I look at the sole purpose of my content, my messaging, and every piece of the content that I create is beyond sharing the value, the strategies, the stories, the things that get people's attention, so that my soulmate clients on the other side, whether I'm offering a free call, a freebie, a free course, or my paid offers, is for them to think, Chubby totally gets me. This is exactly what I'm going through. Cannot wait another minute to work with him to make selling to my soul clients easier for myself. And this desire to show up for the 3% of the people who are willing to do the work and also have the means to invest in themselves, in their own transformation, required me to get rid of my need to please everyone. And that's something you have zero control over. There's always going to be people who unsubscribe, who get angry, who consume your content in a mood that makes them reactive. They will block you, sometimes exactly because you told the truth, but they just weren't ready to hear it. That doesn't mean what you said won't get them to a more positive place in the future. Even if you just change the way they look at things or themselves, like 0.5%. There will even be clients who will complain. They will ask for a refund. They will tell you that you haven't helped them enough, or they haven't got to a place where they wanted to be. They don't appreciate the myriad of support that you are giving them, bending over backwards. There will be even people who straight up copy your courses and then sell them 10% of the price on Reddit. Do you have any control over what other people think about you, what they do, what they believe, who they think you are based on their projections, their insecurities, their stories? Will you let that hold you back from showing up for the actual buyers who might already be watching you silently, who need you to, first of all, stand in your power because you focus on serving them, not showing up thinking how you are perceived? Empower the segment of your audience, which is super important, and so many coaches miss this with the constant coddling and inspiring. Speaking to the power players are just a few steps away from saying yes to that transformation. Book that call. They just need you to shift their beliefs, to call them out on their bullshit, and then call them in to say, here's what you might be missing, and I totally get why you believe the way you believe, which is exactly what I teach throughout my programs. Instead of what we call the scroll patrols who come back to every single content, complain about the same thing 2-5 years on, the ones who are way too comfortable to stay where they are. The two require a completely different way of speaking to and called in. Speak to them, and this is the most important part, in a persuasive way, not just in an educational or informative way, so that their nervous system feels safe enough to not just trust you, because you already know how to do that. We talked about this in the previous video, but to trust themselves, taking that next step that right now they have a lot of resistance to. Because while you worry about, even if you don't think about it, just subconsciously, who you might upset. When you apologize in your content when someone doesn't get what you said based on their own interpretations, or you're too afraid of putting your landing page out there, especially once you've seen for, 5-7 days, no one has replied, no one has clicked. You may even miss out on posting a CTA at the end of every single one of your content pieces. So posting, spending all that time creating the content actually makes sense from a business perspective, and it feeds your ecosystems, whether it's sign up for my newsletter, reach out to me, download my free course, or even, and this is going to ruffle some feathers, never change the generic fluffy language that you're using because you think you're here to help everyone, and then get your buyers scroll past you because you're not speaking to their specific experience, only because you deep down feel so scared of being rejected. Your people out there waiting for you to call them in are in suffering, trying to figure things out on their own, trying to puzzle this all together based on the content you share or the content that other coaches that speak to them share. Back to your content, checking out your stories because their heart is already sold. It's their nervous system that you need to get on board by helping them remove their current beliefs about themselves or what's possible for them. So here's a powerful reframe that I adopted, which paradoxically made me not just a lot more confident in delivering my message, articulating what I'm here to say, creating content, spending less time overthinking my content, posting that shit and not keeping them in my drafts, and then run webinars, challenges, do free podcasts, share secret podcasts, trying to help people with information that also signals to them there's something more that I can help you with if you're willing to invest in yourself. You are not responsible for what people think about you. You are not responsible whether people choose not to work with you, whether they choose to unsubscribe, whether they choose to get triggered by what you say. If someone's own belief system thinks that, they have more time to just figure this out on their own for free, that's their lesson to learn. They choose the comfort of not changing, and you have no power over that. In fact, perhaps all you need to do is just to keep showing up. This is what keeping on showing up means with service. For years, for someone who decides to keep on consuming your content, they may just not be ready, they may just have to learn their own lessons, so they get uncomfortable enough to say, it's time to change. Also, again, something I referred to earlier, what makes you think when you're triggering someone that's something bad? and that wouldn't lead them to actually start questioning what's going on, what do they believe about themselves, and then lead to some positive experiences because you are willing to say what no one else in your industry. It will always sting to have dissatisfied customers, followers who leave hate comments, people who complain about not getting the results when they don't do the work, people who sign up to your newsletter, download the freebie and then unsubscribe immediately, or complain that you are selling after 3, 4, 6 months of providing value all for free. And you still show up as the leader who focuses on that person out there, what they need to hear, so they finally say yes to that next pretty scary step that they have resistance to taking. You need someone with clear words, someone who's strategic enough to infuse their authentic energy. And I know this is a practice. I've been doing this for the past 5 years, signaling to them you are safe to trust yourself, the path that I'm offering, and me on the transformation that you desire. And use almost all your content pieces. This is why I always talk about a congruent messaging ecosystem that communicates that there's way more to find in the transformation that you offer in your paid programs than what they can find in your free content. The moment you make selling about yourself, think about how you are perceived, you're serving yourself. And I've been there. This is a skill that we get to learn. But the moment you focus on someone else, remove the need to please everybody, let people go who don't want to be part of this because of their own choice, you step into your selling power. And all you need to do is ask yourself these two questions before any time you post. Come up with content ideas and craft and deepen your messaging. This is speaking to a potential buyer, their experience, their pain, their guilt, their mistakes, who might be just a few steps away from investing in my offer. Am I actually focusing on the committed segment of my audience who don't just say how inspiring my stuff is, who actually implement what I'm sharing, and who's putting their money where their mouth is and actually stays integral with what they say? Because those are the people we want to build a powerful, sustainable business with, not with someone who pays but doesn't do the work. Every day you decide not to sell, infuse sales psychology or powerful subconscious communication, things that I teach on my page, on this channel too, because you're afraid what the 90% will say or 97% would say or think when you are talking about your clients, your business, your offers. You're saying no to serving the 3% who just wants you to step out of your role as a coach into the role of a leader or a guide to actually show them what the next step of the path looks like. So who is going to be the center of your focus from now on? And let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'm curious how you feel about this. And it was the hardest lesson I needed to learn, so I actually step into my power of serving my people out there. The people who will find all kinds of excuses, stay in their self-pity, prefer to wait, figure it out on their own, making that choice that's totally up to them. Or the few people who already seek the solution to their problems. They are actively looking for other alternatives, not just yours. They see you as the coach they want to work with. They just need nervous system safety and regulation for them to trust themselves. Now, I hope this gives you a reframe around what selling without the need to please everyone feels like, and how to overcome that nagging feeling that you might be upsetting people whenever you talk about your offer that you know is super transformational and has got results for multiple clients of yours in the past couple of years. If you actually want to make selling easier for you, I talk about how you can infuse sales into your content, so it's actually coming from a place of invitation, empowerment, speaking to the people who just need to know what the next step is. So basically, your content is doing the heavy lifting. You don't really need to do a lot of hard selling, convincing, forcing people, sounding salesy in the DMs. Make sure you check out these 2 videos or anything else that the algorithm right now is recommending you. And if you have any questions, you want to share your own experience or how this helped, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. Thank you so much for joining me today, and can't wait to see you in another video.